And I'm going to start learning sponsors. Year of learning Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bat Pinchas. Friends of Herb Jeremiah Tzvi Ben Zev. Friends of Sam Coleman Shmuel Ben Yaakov. Friends of Gideon Lazinski Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir. Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef Cohen. Those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin Emerita, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Estamalka Bat Meshulam Yisachar. Gail and Leslie Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinza Bat Yosef Chaim Bechava, Hanan Ben Moshe Eliezer Vechana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi Vitzipora, Yisra Ben Yoel Moshe Cohen Vechana. Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta Bat Meir. Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim. Marsha Brana in memory of her husband, Harav Yerachmiel Ben Shmuel. Friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen. Friends and family of Siggy Bessler, Shalom Shraga Ben Dov. Friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai and Yisrael Aharon. Month of learning by Haran and Mel Haller, memory of her mother, Malka Rachel Bat Yehuda Leib. Judith and Michael Poretsky, in memory of her father, Yaakov Yitzchak Ben Hirsch Feivel. Isaac and Ed Novik, in memory of his mother, Miriam Gidel Bas Chanoch Henach. A week of learning by Manny and Carol Meller, in memory of his father, Tzvi Hirsch Ben Menachem Mendel. Leila Bessler, in memory of her father-in-law, Dov Berish Ben Meshulam Shraga Feivish. Oscar and Shelley Mole, in memory of his father, Shlomo Ben Yitzchak, and his mother, Rachel Bat Naftali. Today being the 3rd of January, we have a day of learning by Anne and Lester Arfi in commemoration of the Shloshim for Chaim David Ackerman, mother of Pacey Ackerman. Susan Fruchter Kramer, in memory of her mother-in-law, Rivka Bat Elazar Elimelech, and Fred Koss and Susan Dworkin, in memory of his father, David Ben Yaakov. Hashem was having Aliyah, Crank Rafia, Velti, Yeshua, Sematliah, Obnei Israel, is good to bench.
But just have to tell me where you stopped yesterday, because I don't know.
At the end.
At the end. Well, that tells me a lot. Yeah, Samach Aleph Amud Beis where? And where just
Basically, we're on 4 lines from the top of the
Right.
you got up to Samach Beis. Good. Okay, wonderful. All right, good. Just 1 second. Let me see where we are. Good. Okay. Right. Okay. Now. So now, okay. So we're basically okay. We had 2 things. I just want to tell you something interesting. The Chachma Shlomo of Shlomo Kluger. That's not the Chachma Shlomo that's in the Gemara is different. That's not the same. But Shlomo Kluger, the Chachma Shlomo of the Shulchan Aruch, which is a very exciting book, which we'll talk about sometime. So he did everything he can to just learn and learn. He was a tremendous guy. Eventually, the family decided, look, you got to make a living, So they helped him out. They set him up in a fabric store, and he had fabric. And they set up in a fabric store, and he would sell fabric, but every day he went to the fabric store, he just learned. I'll say I have a lot of stories about it. But anyway, he would sit and learn. But what's fun is like this. Every day when just before he go to the fabric, he used to write down. He was very prolific in his writing. He wrote everything. So he would plan what he was going to do that day in the fabric store, learning. And so one day, the he's so excited to go to the shop today. What, about business? No, he's got a particularly interesting Gemara he's going to be learning today. He's in the goodness store. He can't wait to get to work. Anyway, for the people who have fun in learning, today's page is great. This is like one of the most fun. This is the page everybody wants to come to. This is one of the fun page. They're all fun, but the people who are really having a good time, this has got the rep as like one of the most fun places you can come to it. I'm going to tell you a few interesting points, and I'll try and show you, bias you a little bit about one of those points. Okay, and now at this point we basically said there's a machlokas between Yehuda and the Chachamim. Yehuda doesn't believe in the heter of one of Tamun. He holds because he doesn't have a drasha to do it. There's no such drasha. So Tamun is chayiv in age, and the rabbis learn a heter in Tamun, but only in the case of the Torah, which is when you lit in one field, in your own field, and went to the fence field. I said, how did they, and why did they admit to the idea of Talmud when it came to when you lit in your friend's field? your friends feel, it was because it makes sense. It makes sense. They said, listen, it makes sense. Listen, you're damaging. What did you have in mind that you were damaging? What did you have to take into account? So it makes sense. You took into account things that people would normally put there and things that they wouldn't put there. You're not. So you're chayv on tama, and that's reasonably there. That's the way we learned it. But what's not reasonably there, it's not there. Now, this is going to lead us to a very, very interesting problem. And that is, in general, when anybody takes responsibility, to what degree do they take responsibility?
What do they know?
Let's take a look. Okay. Now, we've learned this principle before. Let's say a person gives his friend permission to pile his grain. A gives B permission to pile his grain in A's field. But A, not only did he pile grain in A's field, but he also put utensils into that grain pile. And now watch. Since now Mr. A but a fire in his field and he damaged the grain pile, he only has to pay for the Gadish, okay? Why? Because why is that? Because since he only gave him permission to put a grain pile, he never accepted responsibility for the things that were inside of it. Okay. Similarly, let's say he gave him permission to pile up wheat, which let's say more expensive, and he piled up barley. Okay, and he piled up barley. Or they gave him permission for barley, and he piled up wheat. Even if he gave him permission for wheat, but he covered him with barley, so that's what the guy saw. Or if he gave him permission for barley and he covered him with wheat, any way you look at it, ultimately he never accepted. Either he accepted only the minimum of what he told him, or he accepted what he saw. It's always in his favor. He's not accepting responsibility except for what he thought he has to be responsible for. Okay, what he thought he has to be responsible for. Now we have a very, very famous problem, and I'm going to tell you an interesting case, and then later I'll try and bias you a little bit. It's a good bunch of years ago, but all of Yerushalayim, to all the places that went around, the following Shiloh. You know that, especially then and even later, South African Jews were always busy trying to get their money out of South Africa. They knew that things were collapsing. They were killing themselves to get their money out. One day, a guy, he goes to his friend who's going to Eretz Yisrael. He says, "Oh, would you do me a favor?" He says, "I want you to bring a gift to my family in Eretz Yisrael." So what do you want to send? He says, tegelach. I don't know if my grandmother used to make tegelach. Tegelach are like dough balls in a delicious syrup. When I was a kid, I was crazy about them. It's in a gooey, it's a filthy mess, and it's the most delicious thing you ever ate in your life. It's dough balls and this gooey sauce. It's like super glue. Super glue is not as strong as this stuff. My grandmother used to make them. May she rest in peace. So the thing is, this guy says, I want you to take tegelach to my family in Eretz Yisrael. No, unbeknownst to the taker, what the guy really was doing was smuggling diamonds. Oh, it's a famous case. He put a diamond in every one of the tegelach. Now the guys on the plane, and so in those days the cheaper flights used to stop in, I think, in Nairobi before they went to Eretz Yisrael. You went from Johannesburg to another place in Africa, then to Eretz Yisrael. The guy's on the plane and the tegelach are leaking. He's getting super glue all over his stuff. He's sick of it. When they stopped in Nairobi, he says, "The heck with it." He says, "I'll buy him some chocolates." He goes to the tourist shop, buys some kosher chocolates, to bring to the guy's family, and he tosses the tegelach into the garbage can and somewhere in Africa, for hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever it is. He never told them. So that case, and now of course, and afterwards, the guy who sent the tegelach, wanted to sue the guy who threw them out. Okay, and so this, and you'll see why today's piece you're going to see is very much. But I want to show you. I'm going to show you from the end of the Gemara. Really, even without all the posting in the Shulchan Aruch, from the end of the Gemara, at first glance, there's a little bit of a proof of who has to pay or not. Let's see. Amar, we learn the following. Now so in the case of how much responsibility does a person take? Even when they took responsibility, how much is implicit that they're responsible for? A guy gives a golden coin to a woman, either because they usually men give women money to be married, or because women might not have been as familiar. He gives her a gold coin. He's Haribo Shalkesov. He says, be careful with this coin. It's silver. She basically told her it's a silver coin. If she directly damaged it, she damaged it with her hands, she has to pay for gold. Why? Because he can say to her, what right did you have to damage it? Okay, you're right. Maybe you only took responsibility for silver, but nobody gave you a right to destroy my thing. If you destroy my thing directly, I don't care what you thought, you're going to pay for it. You have the right to destroy things. Pasha, but let's say the other way. She was only negligent in her watching. Okay, Michelle, let Michelle Kesset. Then she pays for silver. Why? Why is that? Because now normally she can say to him, the Tirusa, the Kasba Kabila. I accepted what guarding silver, the Tirusa, the Avila Kabila, and I didn't accept the guard gold. Okay, so you have to see, okay, what was this guy accepting or not accepting? He thought about Pasha. Listen, he thought, oh, so we're going to see this. But wait. So I knew you were going to tell me that. You're going to say, oh no, he directly destroyed the Tegel. We're going to see later, even by direct destruction, we're going to see something. Let's see what comes up. He says, you learn this law from Rava. I was able to understand it from the Brisa that we said earlier. Why? Okay, why? And you told me what? If the guy gave him permission for a week, but the guy covered them with barley, that's what he saw. So Ori and he gave him permission to pile up barley, but he covered it with wheat, but he only accepted barley. He only pays the price of the barley. Alma, that shows you what? He's able to say to him that I accepted the guardianship of responsibility of barley, and I didn't accept the watching of what? Of expensive wheat. And therefore what? And therefore the woman has the same thing. So long it was not a case of direct damage, but of being negligent in guarding. She only accepted silver. She could say to him that I never accepted to guard gold. Amar Rav, he said, he says, so Rav said like this. He said, I heard a halacha about what Rabbi Yehuda said about Talmud, about its hidden things. But he says, I don't know what I heard. I can't remember somehow. Shmuel said to him, he says, Abba, it's an endearing word or a respectful word. He says, you don't know what you heard? He says, I'll tell you what happened. Here's what you heard. Rabbi Yehuda according to Yehuda holds that you have to pay for what's hidden by fire. He doesn't learn that drasha in the Torah, that exemption. Also, the takana that the rabbis made by theft, they also made by fire. What is that? Sometimes, once we have witnesses that somebody stole, but we don't have witnesses on the exact contents of the theft. We have witnesses that the person stole the stuff. We even have let's say we even have a picture of them stealing. We know what was in, what was in there, what was contained. Then the rabbis made a rule from the Torah. All the vows that we have in the Torah, you only swear what? You swear not to pay. Somebody accuses you, you make a vow, I'm exempt. He swears you have to pay this, I swear that. But the rabbis make a different kind of vow. There's a rabbinic vow where you can swear and collect. And even though you don't have a proof, there are places we let us swear and collect. One of those places, why by theft? We know the guy stole. We don't know what. The guy swear this is the contents of what he stole, and you can get paid. That's a takana of the rabbis. Also a story in Eretz Yisrael from earlier when I went there. The minhag in Eretz Yisrael all the time when I went and much younger from now. Everybody's busy hiding everything from the government. The government collects a lot of money that people don't want to pay. So everybody with anything always had a stash someplace. They had a stash of dollars, they had a stash of gold, they had a stash of diamond. One, because the lira was always losing value. That's number one. It couldn't hold its value. So you always had to translate. And secondly, people didn't want to report their income to the government. That was very common. So all of a sudden there was a national tragedy. What I think was Banca Paulim, if I'm not mistaken. A bunch of thieves made a caper, just like in the movies, and they blew up the safe deposit vault and raided hundreds of safe deposit boxes in Banca Paulim. And I met lots of the people who lost them. So what was the big problem? They were insured. The answer was they were insured, but they couldn't report. They couldn't report what they had in the box. Yes, because they was not. The government would get them. So I'm not. It's very sad. People were destroyed. Why? They even though they were insured, they couldn't make the insurance claim because they had no legal way to justify the goods that they had in the box. It was a terrible thing. Anyway,
they had to prove that they had the money.
They were even allowed, the insurance even allowed to claim a certain amount, but they couldn't make the claim. The government would get them. Where'd you get the money? They had no way to do it. Anyway. Eretz was the funniest place in the world. These type radio show in those years because the lira was losing value so quickly. Everybody was hiding at least dollars someplace. So you don't hide them in the mattress. Every thief that comes in, the first place they look is under the mattress, or the second place to look is in the freezer. Everybody in the world hides in the freezer. You know what I mean? So they had a radio show to teach people where to hide their dollars. So the guy starts out. He's the expert. This is on the radio. He says, "Listen," he says, Anything you thought of in less than an hour, they thought of already. He says, at least if you haven't thought for at least an hour, he says, then you do what everybody else does. See, if you think for more than an hour, maybe you'll discover a place. Anyway, that's the story. So over here, we have a rule. We have a rule. Takonas anigdal, that the rabbis allowed him, even though from the Torah you can't swear without you didn't prove anything. What are you going to swear that he owes you? It doesn't work. But in this case, once we can prove that the guy stole, then we'll allow you to swear and say what the contents of the theft was, and he's going to pay you. Now, Boya Maimer, so Maimer asked the father, that was the chiddush that you heard. So according to Yehuda, just like what? So just like the rabbis made a takana when it came to theft, they also made a takana by Talmud. Here, if the guy, he burnt up the grain pile, according to Yehuda, he's tied for the kalim that are in the grain pile. But how do you know what's in there? They were burnt up. The answer is the rabbi. So the same takana that the rabbis made for theft, they also made for according to Yehuda, or even the rabbis were tzaya. But that you're allowed to swear and claim what was in there. Boya Maimer asked the following question. Also, takonas digzal b'masa orlo. How about a guy who's a tattletale? This is a terrible thing. The government's looking to find the Jews' money and take it away. They want to confiscate the Jews' money. So what if one Jew comes and he shows them where his friend's money is? He says he wants to know over there, we're going to catch the guy. Okay, we're going to catch the guy. Is the guy let us swear the money that you caused to be taken by the guy from me was such and such, or the such and such value? Yeah, can he make a shua and collect? So the Gemara says, slow down. Now, first of all, remember, we haven't talked about this much. Not everybody agrees, but normally we differentiate between groma and gormi. Okay, we say groma, bezik, and potter. Indirect. Anything you don't do with your own, you take your hands and damage. It's called a groma. It's indirect. You caused the damage, but you didn't do it directly with your hands or with your body. That's called a groma. We have in the Gemara we have a principle called garmi. Some Rishonim don't really recognize the difference, but let's say simply make a difference. A garmi is a more direct, indirect action. We otherwise will stay here for years. There's truly indirect and directly indirect, but both indirect, not with your hands. So if we'll say, so we have an opinion that garmi, at least rabbinically, even if we hold groma, benezik, and potter, let's say we'll learn it this way. There's a million ways to learn. I'm saying one way. We'll say groma is potter, but garmi, at least the rabbis said is higher. Garmi, if it's a direct, indirect, okay, what to learn? Here, tattletaling on your friend, showing, here's the show the guy, here's his money. Here, you want the Jews' money? Here it is. That's an example. So he didn't take the money with his hands, but it's not quite as indirect as happening to exactly. Okay, so therefore what? So he says, Boya Meimar, also takonas nigzal b'masur lo. When it came to a guy turning in his friend's property, did they make a takana that the one who was stolen from can say this is what was the contents of what he tattletaled with? I'll leave it the mandar malad then he didn't the garmi. So according to the opinion, that even a garmi we didn't make the guy pay. Lo tebayilach. There's no question. The mesiris lo namiladinim. We don't even make the guy pay anyway. Okay, well in such a case because it's still called in there. Where's your shaila? I'll leave it the mandar dainin and din garmi. According to the opinion, that at least a directly indirect like this case. That we make them pay. So now but we don't know what it was that was taken. Do we say in such a case, and what was given over, what he tattletaled, do we make takanas and nigzal? The mishtaba we can swear b'shakal and take the amount of money. Or lower, didn't we? The Gemara says take it. In this case, what? Let it stand. We don't know the answer. Ahu gavra the batash. Now get ready. Ahu gavra the batash bekasma the chavri. A certain guy kicked his friend's strong box. He got a strong box. People put money into it. He kicked his friend's strong box, shot you in the hire, and he kicked it into the river. Sent it into the river. Atamari came along, the owner of the strong box. I had so much money in the box. Yossi Rabashi Makamayim, so Rabashi was analyzing the case. In such a case, what is the halacha? On those, do we say what? Do we allow him to swear in such a case or not? In other words, on the one hand, on the one hand, everybody knows he put money into a strong box. The other guy says, I didn't know there was any money at this time. Amalei Ravina Rav Acha Braid the Rabba, but Amalei Rav Acha Braid the Rabba, the Rabashi, Lahaina Masnisin. He says, Lav Haramas Nisan. 1 second, why are you in doubt? Isn't that our Mishnah? I'll show you from our Mishnah. I know what to do. The Tanah, didn't we learn? Umodim Chachamim Rabbi Yehuda. Even the rabbis admit to Rabbi Yehuda, B'madlika Sabir, if a guy lit up in his friend's field, but he lit in his friend's property, and the house burnt up, Shemishalim Kol Ma Shebetocha, he has to pay for everything. She came derech b'nei adam laniach b'batim, because it's normal for people to to store things in houses. Okay, and we don't say that, oh, he didn't have to think there was something in there. So same thing over here. Since it's normal for people to what? To put money into a strongbox, even though he didn't know there was money in it at the time, he's responsible, and we allow the guy to swear. Amar Lei says, nah, he says, either Katayin, he says, Rashi says, you can't prove it from a Mishnah. You're right. Had he just asked for money, okay, he says, that's not such a problem. Hachinami, that's clear from our Mishnah that we don't let him go. Okay, but here, the Katayin, Marganisa, the real question is what? Let's say he's claiming, yeah, diamonds, pearls, precious stone. Now what's the law? Mi manchi inchi marganisa bekaspas olo. A strong box that's usually for money. The people put what? The people put pearls in or not? And the Gemara says here what? Teku, that we let it stand. Get ready. Amalei Ravi and Rav Ashi, toin kasa the kaspa bebira. Let's say if a guy claims whose house was burnt, but the guy has to pay, he claims that he had a silver cup. What's the law? Amalei Chazina, let's see. Inish amidu. What if he is a person who's wealthy, he has money, he's like casa the casa, it's reasonable he's gonna have a silver cup. Okay. Inami, or alternative, Inish Mahemno, even if he himself is not wealthy, but he's the type of person other people trust, the mifka, the inchi people deposit things for him to watch, so he can swear and he can swear and he can take it. But if not, lav kokamini. If not, he cannot. So you see what? So now over there, 1 second. Before you told me. Let's see if we were saying really here that the person is only responsible for what he thought might be there. But didn't you tell me before that when the woman directly damaged, she was responsible. She was responsible anyway. We have to see. It could be according to here that even what direct damage is only responsible. Even then, only when the person. It still has to be somewhere reasonable that it would be there. If it's utterly unreasonable, maybe not. If you say that way from over here, then what's going to be over there with our diamonds in the table? It could be there that no reasonable person in the world would have thought that the goodies that he was taking to the guy's relatives contain diamonds. Nobody in the world would have thought that. In which case, then even if he directly damaged them, it would not be. Just interesting, very interesting cases. It's a big fight. I used to. I wasn't. I never.
All he had to pay was.
Yeah, I never got to the basics. But you should know that was in Yerushalayim. That in the old days, that's what used to happen. All the shilas used to go around all of the kolim. All the shilas. You should know Yashiv as Itzal, who was famous, but everybody who knew him knew who he was. But how did he become, so to speak? How did his name first become famous? Because they had a famous case of an aguna. There was a woman. It was the husband disappeared, but maybe was killed. That's the number one. What's the number one challenge in every place here? To allow women not to be stuck to be married. So whenever there's a problem, they send it around to all the kohen. So it was Rav Yosef. He was right. I think it's by Rav Bengus, as itself, if I'm not mistaken. So Rav Yosef was a young man. He was the solution to the woman. That first became his name started to become very famous. But it was when Yerushalayim, that was the custom. That when it was a tough problem, they'd send it around to all the places, and everybody scream and yell. We used to have every day somebody come. We had one. I'll tell you one. It was interesting. But I'm not late. Listen, I had one time. The guy comes running in. Mom, she's running from the hospital. In Israel, lots of times, bris and pidyon abens happen in the hospital. Yeah, the mother is still in the hospital. Whatever the reason is, it's cheaper, so they make pidyon aben and bris right in the hospital there. The guy comes running from the hospital to the kola. He says, you're not going to believe what just happened. What happened? He says there was a pidyon aben, and they're about to do the pidyon aben, and now pidyon aben has to be for her firstborn, and a doctor is passing by. They're about to do the pidyon aben, and one of the doctors in the hospital, he walks up to the rabbi very quietly, takes him to the side. He says, "Listen," he says. Between me, so let me tell you. He says, I personally performed an abortion for this woman, an advanced abortion, advanced stage abortion. this kid is not a whatever. This kid's not a petarechem. Whatever happened, this kid's not a petarechem. Whatever the case was, the doctor told him. So the rabbi went to the woman and she said, "It's true." She said, "If you tell my husband, he's going to divorce me. If you tell my husband," they all said they had a meal there. They got a meal, whatever's going on. He says, "If my husband finds out, he's going to divorce me. There's no question. My life is over. My marriage is over." No, what does the rabbi do? What does the rabbi do? So what does he do? Should he go forward for shalom bias? And so half of people said, "Look, what do you mean? If you see that when it comes to a sota, that Hashem is willing to erase his name, Hashem is willing to erase his holy name in the Beis Hamikdash, you understand, to make peace between a man and his wife. See, you won't say a bracha. You won't say a bracha. The heck with it. And especially, by the way, probably you won't say a bracha. That was one. Other people, but Lemaisa, the rabbi did something else. Lemaisa, the rabbi made up a whole story that they thought maybe she's a baslave. A whole story that maybe had it, and they made a shechiana. They made a shechiana, on a fruit. Yeah, they made a shechiana on a fruit. Then they let it go. Then a suffix. But everybody's screaming, yelling. But other people say, "Listen, what are you talking about? It's pashut. What do you mean? You won't say a bracha? Are you crazy? Hashem erases his name for shalom bayis. You won't say a bracha? Okay, we have to debate. Another time we have to debate what exactly bismanenu is the prohibition of taking Hashem's name. It's not exactly, we're not exactly, even we'd say a bracha, it's not, he's still blessing Hashem. We have to talk about it. Okay.
Bracha a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. We have to talk about it. Okay. Anyway, but these things in Yerushalayim is like every day they used to. It was like the stock market. Yes, and the news would get out, and certain shaylas would circle the city. It would go all around. Everybody screaming and yelling, but the same. Everybody goes. It's a very good way to solve problems. You understand? You get a consensus of, everybody screaming and yelling. Okay, huh? Yeah, or you get everybody screaming and yelling, but you find the different approaches to solving the problem. It's a marba chachma. Yeah. Okay. My ben gazan and chamson. Now in the Torah, a gazan and a chamson is the same. They're thieves. But what? But robbers. But what? But the rabbis added when a person steals money. Anybody who's dishonest can't be a witness in the Jewish court. So besides the Torah pro ones, there are rabbinic cases, like for example, when a person stole from an incompetent, where maybe let's say it's the rice and not theft or whatever it's going to be. So even there, the rabbis will make the person. It has to be caught. And you should know it's terrible. It's a terrible problem because once it's true, it's very hard to straighten out. Why? Why is that? Because we're always suspicious. Hey, once a guy's been caught, being funny, we don't trust him as a witness. How does he do tshuva? So let's say he did tshuva, but we're always afraid that he's just trying to make himself look good. We're never going to trust him. When I was a kid, it's very sad. When I was a kid, all the kids knew the same thing. If you want to be able to steal from what your employer is, you get a job, and like a week or two into the job, you come to the employer. Every kid do this trick. You come to the employer and you bring him $10. He says, "What is this?" He said, "What is this?" He says, "Oh, I found it." He says, "Oh, so you establish the boss can't believe, wow, what a good work I got. I saw it. He found $10. He gave it back to me." Really what you're doing is establishing a false trust so that you can steal from the guy. Every kid do the trick. Every kid. Very rich. He doesn't steal anymore. We still here's the problem. So I'm going to answer you. The problem is how does a guy reestablish himself? And so the reason it's very difficult. Why? Because whatever we see him being honest, we're always afraid that he's just being honest in front of us to make us think that he's become honest. He's saying we never trust him. So we have a principle. There's a thing called lefitumo, that a person has to be, when we let's say we're going to trust them to give us evidence, we don't trust them. But if they're speaking, not having any knowledge that we need to know, so then maybe we know that they spoke honest. We catch them off guard. We catch them innocently. So we have to, in order to get a guy to become a witness again, we actually have to catch him in the act of being innocent. We have to find a case where there's no question that he's not acting honestly to make us show. So eventually that's how we get out of it. Find a way that he couldn't have known that we're watching him, so to speak, and he actually was honest. We can actually revert and make him trustworthy again. So it's a hard problem. It's a hard problem to fix. Okay. Anyway, so now So now these are cases where at least rabbinically, we're going to say that he's not good for witnessing. So
extortion.
Okay, good. Okay, so now we said, but the Gemara said what? But in the Torah, Chamson and Gaza are the same thing. So I'm late. So he says to him, he says, I'll tell you. So in our terms, here's where it makes a difference. Why do rabbis make two categories? If he pays money, if he steals and pays back money, Chamson can say that's called a Chamson. Pardon me. Amar says Chamson Yav Dame. A Chamson is a guy who steals but pays. And Gazlan only goes down, and the Gazlan steals and doesn't pay. Okay, they're both wrong. Amalei says, 1 second, how can you call a guy a Chamson who gives money? V'amar, didn't we learn there's a principle, even though it's unpleasant, but there's a principle of the Gemara. V'amar avhuna, I'll tell you, if I hang a guy up, I say, listen, come on, sell here. You want to sell your car? No. I hang him from the ceiling. You want to sell your car? Yes, I'll sell it. He says, I'll sell it. If I hang him and I'm under duress and he agrees to sell it, the sale is still a sale. Why? Because we say, even though you're right, you're a bad guy for doing that, but the guy really wants to sell because he wants you to let him down. He really wants to sell. Okay, he says, look, Kasha. Yeah, he says, he says, when the guy says, I want to, he says, I want to sell. Okay, you're right. But if you steal, the guy never said, I want. Even then, even if you get money, that's called a Chamson. Okay, says the Gemara. Gates is hammering away, the blacksmith or whatever it is, and a spark comes out from under the hammer. And then it catches fire, let's say, the blacksmith passing by in the public domain, he does damage. He's obligated to pay. It's his job to make sure that the spark doesn't go out. A camel is loaded with flax, walking down the street in the public domain. But the flax, he's so laden that the flax enters the doorway of the shop. The and it ignites on the lamp of the store, but the lamp's inside. It lights up the whole building. It's the owner of the camel's obligation. It's his obligation not to load his camel in a way that the flax would enter the shop and ignite. But if the store shopkeeper put his lamp outside, then he's obligated on everything, including for the flax and everything. Everything's burnt up. He's obligated. But Yehuda says a special chiddush. But even though the first opinion disagrees, Yehuda says if the lamp that he put outside was a Hanukkah lamp, okay, potter. Then he's exempt. If you put it out because it's a mitzvah to put it out there, you're exempt. The first opinion holds no. Even if you put it out for a mitzvah, you still have to watch it. But Yehuda holds no. Amar Ravina Mishmei de Rabbas, he said, Shmami, no, wow, I can bring a proof, made the Rabbi Yehuda, I can bring an interesting proof about a famous halacha when it comes to Hanukkah. That what? The Hanukkah lamp, it's a mitzvah to put it very low to the ground. We're almost on the ground, within 10 tvachim. Why? Because since we want to show that this lamp is to publicize the miracle, if you put it in a place where people usually get light, you're not really emphasizing the miracle. So you put it dafka in a place where it's not really very useful, that shows it's the mitzvah. But I can prove that that's the halacha. Why? Because if the mitzvah really to put it, you don't have to put it low, you can put it above. Even if it was a mitzvah to put it outside, still Rabbi Yehuda shouldn't send the guy's exempt. Why? Let him say to let the camel owner say to the guy, you should have put it above the height of a camel and its rider. So you really hear proof. It must be one that it was a mitzvah to put it down low where it would do damage. He said, it doesn't prove anything. It could be the mitzvah is fine. It's even just as good to put it high. Maya Martha, what's your point? If you could put it higher, then you should have put it higher than the camel. Once the rabbis told him this is the mitzvah, even if he doesn't have to, even if he could put it higher, once the rabbi said, look, it's a mitzvah, put it outside. They don't trouble him to put it higher or lower. He's exempt. He has a mitzvah. He has the mitzvah exemption. He's not obligated to worry about it anymore. Rav Kahana says, he says the following, Ner Chanukah, if you put the Chanukah lamp above 20 amos, it's no good. Why is that? Because the whole point is to publicize the miracle. The normal person doesn't look above 20 amos. You're not publicizing the miracle. Because sukkah doesn't like to do by sukkah for various reasons. We know a sukkah with a sock, not the sukkah walls. But if the sock is higher than 20, I think it's not recognizable. All kinds of reasons. It's not a kosher sukkah. And Mably also, when you have an alleyway that really is a private domain, but the rabbis won't let you carry without putting a line of demarcation. You have to put a beam across. That beam across to show that it's a private domain. and going into a public domain has to be not higher than 20 so that people will see it. Now, we want to talk about stealing. Now, let me say a simple introduction and we'll be fine. Mitzvah Hashem. You know that when a guy steals and he's caught with what he stole, he has to pay back double. That's a rule. If he stole a sheep or a cow, in addition to two, if he stole a sheep, he has to pay 2 times more. And if he stole a cow, in addition to 2, he has to pay 3 times more. That's what we call the payment of 4 and 5. So 3 times more. No. He has to pay twice if he stole. If he stole a sheep, or what's it? If he stole a sheep, if he stole a sheep and shechted it or sold it, he has to pay 2 times more. And if he stole a cow, and shechted it or sold it, he has to pay 3 times more. This is called the payment of 4 and 5. In other words, 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 3. Those are the payments of 4 and 5. And the payment of 4 and 5, and this is very important, the payment of 4 and 5 is not really a payment of 4 and 5. It's really 2 plus 2. It's really 2 plus 2 and 2 plus 3. Well, I said it this way not to be obnoxious because it's going to be important in the Gemara woman. I do some things to be obnoxious, but this was not. No, we don't pay any fine that by admission that we live any fine admission. Now
he said I didn't do it. He gets caught.
Yeah, you get now 1 second. So now that's introduction 1. Introduction 2, which we've also learned previously, when a person is a watchman, he can automatically get the rule of a thief, but without so to speak going, why? Let's say he has an object and the owner says, look, you have to give it back to me. And he says, no, let's say he's an unpaid watchman. He says, I'm exempt. It was stolen. But he's a liar. He's a liar. When he swears, when he does that and exempt himself, he becomes the thief. He himself is the thief, okay? And he's also, when he's caught, he too will have to pay what? Will have to pay the double payment. Same thing. He becomes the thief. Now, with those 2 introductions, let's look at our Mishnah. Let's see some interesting points. Meruba midas tashlumi kefal mimidus atashlumi arba v'chamisha. We'll see that the occurrences, the instances of paying double payment are more numerous than the instances of paying 4 and 5. Why is that? Because the instances of paying double payment occur whether the object that was stolen is animate, okay, or whether it's inanimate. It makes no difference. You pay double payment. But the payment of 4 or 5, it only occurs, the instances are only what? By an ox or by a sheep. As it says, when a guy will steal the ox or the sheep and he shechted it or he sold it. So then he's going to have to pay 5 for the cow and 4 for the sheep. So you see what? So you see that the instances of double payment are more numerous than the instances of 4 and 5, because this is even by inanimate, and that's only by animate. Furthermore, if a thief stole from a thief, when he stole from the thief, we don't say that he owes double payment to the first thief, okay, and the fact that he also doesn't pay even to the first guy double payment. But the fact is, because it has to be Beis Ish. The thief is not called the Beis Ish, and the first guy, and when he steals from the thief, it's also not Beis Ish, the first guy. The guy who steals from the thief doesn't pay double payment. Nor does the person who shechted or stole or sold No. A guy who stole from a thief and then shechted it or sold it, he also doesn't pay Tashmi Arba Chamish. He also doesn't pay the payment of 4 and 5. You'll see why, because it's connected to the 2. Okay? Just for the object. Okay, now.
This is the original one.
Yeah. Okay, now let's take a look a little further. But let's take a look. So the Gemara here, the Mishnah was written in such a abstract way, so the Gemara dives right in. The Gemara knows that that's what the Mishnah wants. Now, how come when you told me, it's more, the instances of double payment are more numerous than the instances of 4 and 5. I said, wow, you left one out. How come you didn't mention the fact that double payment is also by stealing and also by, like I told you, by a watchman who claimed it was stolen, who becomes the thief? Both of those pay double. Umidash tashlumi arba b'chamisha and in hegas al begala bilvad. But the payment of 4 and 5 is only by a thief and not by a watchman who turned into a thief. Lokatani, Hakmat didn't teach that point. That also there's another reason why that 4 and 5 that double payment is by a watchman, but there's no payment of 4 and 5 by a watchman. He says, "Wow, Messiah lay. This will be a support, a proof." The Rabbi Chia bar Abba, the Amar Rabbi Chia bar, this support Rabbi Chia who said Rabbi Yochanan, because he said in Rabbi Yochanan, "Haton tanis ganav." Because if a guy falsely claimed that a deposit was stolen, and he swears mishalim tashnumi kefel, he pays double payment tava for machar, and then if after swearing he shechted it or he sold it, he does pay. So you know, wow, it proves it. You know why it didn't say that it's more numerous? Because it's not more numerous. The facts are that both of them pay. Whether that there's no difference, whether it's double payment or the payment of 4 and 5, a watchman who lied will pay both. Okay, some people say the other from the other direction. Lema Messiah Leila Rechiba. But let's bring this Mishnah as a proof. Because he said at if a guy claims the claim of a thief by a deposit, he pays double payment. And if after swearing he shechted it or he sold it, he has to pay the 4 or 5. So what? So okay. So this is a proof for him. Gemara says, "Get out of here." He says, "It's not a proof at all." And this is beautiful, beautiful. Look how beautiful. Mika Tani. Gemara says, "1 second. Aim, Bain." He says, aim. He says, yeah. What do we say? When I want to show that this and only this is the difference, I say there's no difference except for this. Then I'm speaking in exclusionary fashion. It's this and right. It's this and not something else. Okay. Maruba, I didn't say that. Here I said it's
only by a watchman that both of them.
That's what he says. No, but he said there's a debate whether both are by way. But he says both are by a watchman. No, both are by a thief or by a watchman. That's why I didn't say by a thief and not by. That's why I didn't make a difference for 4 and 5 between a thief and a watchman. They're the same. But the Gemara says, 1 second, it's no proof. Why? It didn't say this is the only difference, and therefore there's no difference. It said, Maruba, there are more cases on it. Okay. I'm sure there are more cases. There are other cases they taught other ones. It never made a language of exclusivity. That's a very important point. Yeah.
This is the only place that I'm familiar where they don't say it.
Oh, so I have 2 answers to that question. I was waiting for you to ask me that question. In other words, usually the Gemara says if you left one out, then you don't leave one out, you leave 2 out. Because how do you know it's not coincidence? How do I know something was left out? It's a big problem. How do I show lack of coincidence? Maybe it's a mistake. So answer, there's 2 answers. One is Tosa there, but you haven't told me good enough yet. You'll see why. You'll see why I said what I said. Because I used to travel, I used to, you do whatever you can to get a little money. So I used to, all the holidays, Baruch Hashem, I was very fortunate. I used to get a job. What was my job? I would be the rabbi of 3-star vacations in Israel. The 3-star vacations it's not 3-star. It's the rabbi for 3-star vacations. Yeah, no, you'll see why in a minute. So they're not to Hilton Hotel, you understand? But Hashem. So that was the way. So if I would be the rabbi for the 3-star vacation, I'd take my kids away for Yom Tov. I will give them a little bit. No, it cost me something, but not so much. Understand? And so the father, I would work all Yom Tov. Yeah, rabbis work on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Anybody else? I would work Shabbos and Yom Tov. You understand? And my brother, thank God, it was one. I helped my family all those years. So what I want to tell you, so one of the jobs I was having, I would pick up wherever it is, people want to learn Daf Yomi. So every year in Daf Yomi, I have the same thing. I meet the new group, the new Daf Yomi group, and always the same thing will happen. What will happen? I'll ask a question, and immediately there's always somebody who knows. So I say, "What do you mean?" Tosas answers that question. I say, "I know, but that's what Tosas said. But I want to explain it according to Rashi." They'll say to me, "What do you mean?" Tosas answered, "That's Rashi." I said, "No. If Rashi wanted to say what Tosas said, Rashi would have said so." I said, "Since Rashi didn't bring it up, must be there's a different answer. I can answer. I don't have to say what Tosas said. The answer according to Rashi." That's why I say. So they scream and yell at me till usually by day 5 I'd be friends. You know, that way by 5, usually by Motzi, so the last day is the answer already. I was okay. So here's the same thing. Tosas answers really what there was a second one. Tosfos says. But I would answer quickly like I'm trying to say to you.
Where is this?
It's here on the page. It's here, right on the page. It's on the page. Okay, but listen to this. But listen to this.
All right.
But listen to this. But, yeah, Tosfos answer. But listen. But I say. But it seems to me a simple answer. Well, I don't have to always. A simple answer for I should be. It's exactly the point. When the language is exclusionary, I say, listen, if you tell me you left something out, you better leave something and something. You say it's not conclusive, you better prove it. But where the language is not exclusionary, I don't have to prove it that it wasn't exclusive. You don't get on my case. It's not there. It never said he said it. Here, you have in mathematics here, math people here. In language, if a guy says a few is a couple. In math, a few is one. A few is one. If I say some in mathematics, some is any. Am I correct? So I say some people go. In mathematics, it's any. Not linguistics.
He doesn't agree with
Okay, good. Okay, then I'm wrong. Then I'm wrong. If you're the expert, I'm wrong. So I'm wrong. But somebody else says what I said. I'm telling you, somebody else says what I said. Yeah. If you say no, do I have to say no? Do I have to say if I say some?
spelling some.
I'm wrong. You see, but you understand what I mean. You understand what I mean? Yeah. In English, so I only do one instance. Over here, you told me there's more. If there's more, I didn't say there's more and there's no more. There's more. There could be 20 more. I said,
Yes.
go ahead. Don't be sorry, yes. It's an important lesson I taught. Why? Because you'll see, first of all, you'll understand me better as time goes on. Because when I explain Rashi, I don't explain according to Tosfos. And I also I don't accept those answers usually. I generally don't accept it. If you're going to shove the Tosfos down my throat, I'm going to ask you why Rashi didn't say so. Okay, good. Okay, now. Let's see a little further. We said midas tashlumi kefel no heges, okay, etc. We said that kefel is what? Is by animate and inanimate. Minani mili, where do we learn it from? Today we're just going to get started. Let's remember our principle. Klal uprada klal. If the Torah gives me a generalization followed by a particularization, followed by generalization, the rule is klal upradu klal. The rule is what? That I abstract the particularization into a principle and make a principle that matches the common denominator of the detail. If I, again, general, particular, generalization means to generalize the
Everything
particular.
like
No, it's make an abstraction out of the particular, make a principle, and then extend it. But only according to the. Now you can't say everything. Everything that's just like the particulars. Okay, now let's get it inside. Immediately we say what? But not immediately. How do I know that kefo works, whether it's animate or inanimate? The Tana Rabbanan, we learned the Brisa the following. The Brisa wants to done. Okay, the pasuk tells me what? For any matter of iniquity. Remember that even though this is written by a shomer, we know from before that it's speaking about a ganav also. The general rules of double payment. Any iniquity, whether it's an ox or a donkey or a sheep, okay, or a garment, or any lost object that he'll say this is it, etc., he shall pay double to his friend. Okay, and we learn the following. Called over when the pasuk opens says for any matter of iniquity, klal, that's a generalization. Al shar when you particularize, you said ox, donkey, sheep, garment, you particularized. Al kol aveda, we said for any lost object, cause of a kol, you went back and generalized. Klalu, pradu, klal, general, particular, general. What you have to do, you have to abstract the particular into a generalization, into a theory of generalization. Map and do this. Just like the particulars can be generalized as what? As things that are movable and themselves represent money. Okay. Also anything that can be moved and in itself is collectible money. Yotsu, okay, this is going to exclude the following. One, karkos, why? Land, Shana Batalton, they can't be moved. Land can't be moved. Yotsu, avadim, slaves, even though they are movable, they're also excluded. Why? Shiukshula karkos, because legally the Torah equated them to land. Yotsu shtaros, this excludes documents, let's say bills of debt, even though they are movable, but even though they're movable and gufamom, they themselves are not money. The paper is a penny. It's what's written in that allows you to collect the debt. So they cause money, but they themselves are not valuable. Okay, Yotza Hegdesh also excludes Hegdesh for a different reason. Why? Because the end it said what? He has to pay double to his friend, Re'eyu, to his friend, see, and Hegdesh, what belongs to the temple, is not. Now, get ready. I can answer the following kasha. 1 second. Why are you only generalizing the part of the deed that you like? What about the part I like? Remember, I told you here, animals, whether they're kosher or not, their carcass, their unshechted carcass, is mitame a person, not only if he touches it, but even if he just carries it without touching it, or if he moves it without touching it, he becomes tame, which is not the case by birds. Whether kosher birds or not kosher birds, their corpse does not make somebody tame. That's one case. If it's a kosher bird, when he actually swallows it, it makes him tame. But it doesn't make people tame, not by touching, not by carrying, not by moving. The imam problem furush, I would say, why don't you generalize this point? Just like the detail is clear that what that is explicit is things that seem lasso tame magamasa. Its corpse makes a person tame by touching, but even by touching it, even by carrying it. Off color, which is lasso tame magamasa. Also, everything where the corpse makes him tummy by carrying avo ophos low, which will exclude birds. If you stole a chicken, you won't pay kefel. So how should I say that? He says, get out of here. You can't say that. Well, you can't say that. It's not true. Your generalization isn't true to the particulars. One of the particulars was a garment. Garment is not, it can't be a corpse that's matame, not matame. So your whole idea of generalizing tuma doesn't work. The Gemara says, get out of here, get out of here. You said me, get out of here. I'm telling you, get out of here. Get out of here till you get out of here. Why? He says, Amri says, Ananda Balichaim Kaminim. Come on, I don't have to generalize living things from inanimate objects. He says, Ema Balichaim, I'm allowed to generalize all of the living things on the list. It's seeing the vasa where its corpse is matame in, yes, and but chickens where its corpse doesn't matame are out. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Tomorrow we'll continue this debate. What's that?
Yes.
Clothing, of course, becomes tame, but the clothing, but one second. Clothing, no. First of all, only a person, nothing, only things that became tame from a corpse can be tame food, but not people or kalim.
No, he's
Those things that become tame from a corpse can be tame food.
If you move
something, and nothing, a thing that's not a corpse or a person. The thing that becomes tummy from the corpse or the person from the corpse, you can make people unclean. But objects that became unclean from that, they can't make a person unclean. Only an object, only food.
if I move,
That can only make food unclean.
if I move a corpse,
Yes, but as far as that, but only tummy food. It won't make a man tummy. That's what I'm saying.
He's asking this.
Yeah.
If I take the stick and I move the corpse's yamu, is that
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, anyway.
Answering.
No, an object, the things that became tummy from a corpse are only tummy food. Except for the person, saying the corpse, the person who became tummy of the corpse, they can tummy other people. People in Caleb. People in utensils only from the person. No. Oh, let's go. Thank you. You know what I know today in any office, dentist office, a great deal of real estate is set up for collection. Yes, very great part of the operation is not. Yeah.